All right, so I love starting out with hearing, you can go earlier than this, but I love starting in high school. Like,
Okay.
who were you in high school and did you have a dream of like this is who I'll be when I grow up, or did you have any sort of pressure from outside world parents of like do this, do this?
I love that you just asked me that because, like, I feel like that's such a magical time. I know everyone doesn't feel that way, but like looking back, like all the possibilities are available to you at that point, because you haven't like become a true adult and you're still like, what do I want to do? But I can remember like as young as like 9 years old, really being interested in spirituality and being interested in like what is this magic out in the world that I'm feeling that I couldn't put a name to it, but I knew there was something more out there, like that twinkle that I was
Mm.
interested in. That like the unseen world like was fascinating to me. So I did start having in high school thoughts like that I would like to be a spiritual like motivational speaker.
Wow.
I know it was really weird because I can remember back then, like, um, I don't know, listening to different speakers and being like, I like that, I like that, but feeling like I wanted to motivate people too, but not just, straight up motivational speaker. There had to be like a spiritual edge to it. So I'm in high school. I'm a
Interesting.
totally normal kid, I'm partying, I'm like dating, I'm doing all the normal things that some kids do in high school. But like when I was alone and like in my room and just thinking about stuff, I was always thinking about like, well, what's really going on? And like, what is the structure of the universe? And so when I went to college, I mean, I studied comparative religion because I didn't know what else to study. Like I didn't know there was something like transpersonal psychology, or you could go to school and just study like quote unquote spirituality. I thought, well, I guess I'll study like world religions and that'll give me some insight into this thing that I've been thinking about my whole life.
Wow, so interesting that you felt that pull at a young age. And do you have any like were your family or was there anybody in your life that was like spiritual that was like sort of showing that to you?
Totally. It was my mom. She was an ex nun and she wrote mystical poetry. So, most 9 year olds don't know what like mysticism is,
Yeah.
that's not like the norm, but for her, like that was her life. So again, as a young child, like she was talking to me about like Saint John of the Cross and Saint Teresa of Avila and like explaining to me that mystics are people that have spiritual experiences and can actually like talk about them and explain them. And like she opened up Pandora's box. I was totally fascinated. Like, what is that? What do you mean spiritual experiences? Like, what's going on? Like, life doesn't have to just be like work, taxes, and you die. There's more. So she definitely piqued my interest, and she made my life from a very young age feel really magical, and like everything we did was I don't know, it had like this different sense to it that's not just like normal living. Like everything turned into an adventure. And she would take me to monasteries like all over the country and just talk to me about cool stuff that I wouldn't normally talk about with anybody else. So her and I created kind of like a special world.
And so also when she said she was an ex nun in
Mhm.
like what religion in what
Catholicism.
okay, because that's so
Yeah.
I was raised in the Catholic Church and went to all Catholic schools.
Hmm.
And my mom was, I don't feel like, I mean, my mom was from like a more strict Catholic family and
Hmm.
then it sort of like trickled down, but so not like super, super, but still like interesting, like, so raised in the Catholic Church, there was no mysticism. There's like, here is this book that you follow the
Right.
rules of.
It
Like, you know what I mean? So
was not
also
the normal
interesting. So
Catholic church.
she left the Catholic Church, or I mean, obviously,
No, she didn't leave the church. She left the convent.
okay.
She was like, this is not for me. She was a very rebellious person. And I think when she was in high school, she was like writing back and forth to Thomas Merton, which he's like one of the greatest Catholic monks and writers like on the planet. So she, I think, I mean, I don't mean to speak for her, but I gathered that she thought that she could like go into the convent and like be a writer and like have this life where she's just kind of like alone in nature and writing like these spiritual books and stuff. But the reality was like they wanted her like cleaning toilets and like learning to be a teacher or a nurse. And she was like, I don't want to do that. So fast forward to her, you know, getting married and having a family and all that. She still went to church, but her faith was way deeper than like, I would say the average Catholic. She was looking into deeper ideas and having deeper thoughts and meditating and I don't know, just living outside of what the norm would be in the Catholic Church. And I was raised Greek Orthodox, so I had a taste of both. And I went to Catholic schools.
Got it. Yeah. So like she had this deep spirituality, but it wasn't necessarily like the by the book
She could have cared
Catholic, where
less.
because a lot of, in my experience, was the like, no, this is just the rules. There's no room for interpretation and stuff.
She did not care about the rules. Like, you know, I remember a conversation came up with her brother who was like super Catholic. And he was like, I can't believe you don't go to church like on Sundays. And she was like, I don't want to go to church on Sundays. It's totally annoying. There's like too many people there. I like going on Monday nights. Like, you know, just stuff like
Yeah.
that. She was like, who cares? Like, that
Right.
doesn't even make sense.
Exactly. Love that. Okay. So let's jump back to you're in college and you're studying world
I'm in,
religion.
yes. And people are saying things to me like, oh, you're going to be a nun. And I'm like, do I look like I'm going to be a nun? Like, what are you talking about? It was that private side of me that wanted more information, but definitely like super wild and, you know, running around like crazy. But then coming back to like writing my papers and reading all these books and but keeping it private.
So what did you end up what happens in college and like leaving college? Did you stay on that path?
So I did, you know, I graduated with a degree in theology. And at the same time, my dad owned restaurants. So I started working, well, really at like 15, I started working in the restaurant business, but I started working for him like a year into college. And then I stayed in like the hospitality restaurant and bar business for years. I mean, that's just what I did. So I didn't think that these thoughts that I was having about like, you know, being a speaker and talking to people about spirituality, I didn't think that that was going to be like possible for me because I had another life. I mean, I was working till 4 o'clock in the morning and, you know, just a different, it was two people living in one body.
Yeah.
And then in 2011, my mom passed away. My dad had sold his restaurants. I was no longer like in that business. I actually took a year off. My mom passed away. I got really, really, really depressed. And I had never been depressed before like that. I had major anxiety. I became suicidal. I could not function without my mom because, again, she was my lifeline to this world that was really everything to me, but I couldn't talk about with other people. And through a miracle, I learned to meditate and specifically transcendental meditation. And in one meditation, I went from like desperately just sick and not wanting to live anymore to like a state of ecstasy. And within 2 weeks, like my entire life changed.
Wow. So that whole time from after college to your mom passing away, were you working in part of your father's businesses? And so was that like
Mm-hmm.
also when 2011 he closed it down, then it was sort of like,
It
oh,
was
okay, then
2000,
you're
like,
set for, or what?
well, it was like 2000, at the end of, no, it was the beginning of 2010. He sold his restaurants. My mom's health was, you know, kind of tricky and he was getting older. He wanted to retire. And I decided I just wanted to spend that year with my mom. I didn't know she was going to die, but I had been working for so long, so hard. I just wanted to like travel with her. We went on like 4 road trips. I literally spent like every day of that year with her. And then like she got really sick and died. So that was kind of like the sequence of events. And so when she died, like I hadn't even been working. I just was like living off of savings.
Got it. But that sort of career pausing or stop took happened because like your dad closed the business. And so then instead of you being like, oh, okay, well, let me go look for another one, be like, you know what, let me take this opportunity to take some downtime myself.
Yeah. And I was kind of thinking like, let me hit the pause button. And I had already been planning with one of my friends who was already a bar owner. I'm from Chicago, so this is all happening in the city. We had started talking about opening our own place. So opening a bar, like a dive bar restaurant in Chicago, putting the plans together. I started like raising money from investors for the project and all that. And then my mom died. And then I was like, I can't even like take a shower and like leave my house. Like there's not possible for me to open a bar right now. But my mind was definitely still like, that's the only thing you know how to do. Like, and I liked it. And that's going to be your life. Like, there was no possibility in
Like that's
my
just like
mind.
that's what makes sense. Like, oh,
That
okay, well then we'll open our own place.
then that's what I'm going to do. Right. And my mom was the writer. She had published 4 books of
Oh wow.
poetry. She was a pretty well-known poet in Chicago. She did a lot of poetry readings. Like that was her world. And like, I was in the restaurant business and that's just what it was.
And so yeah, when she passed away, it just sounds like your life was shattered.
Shattered. Like I literally fell into like the darkest, deepest black hole, I think, like ever. I can't even put into words like how scary, and it's just black on black on black. Like I could not get out of the hole. I just didn't see the point of living without her. She was kind of not kind of, she was my soulmate.
Hmm.
So
And
it was pretty scary.
and you said like by some miracle you got that meditation. Like how did that enter? And were you trying other things? Were people like trying?
No.
Like how did you stumble into transcendental meditation?
Um,
Or like that
I
made you act? I mean, was it something you knew about and just like, oh, let me just
no,
try
didn't
something?
know anything about it. Like never thought about meditation, didn't care, not didn't cross my mind. The only thing I was doing at that point was going to see a therapist 3 times a week because we were trying to keep me out of a hospital. I would like leave the house sometimes to like go to my best friend's house. She'd like make me dinner. I mean, I really was not functioning. And this particular evening, my ex-boyfriend who I was still close with, he was really, really worried about me. And he was like, you are coming out to dinner with me. And he had a company with the guys from his office. He was like, you have to get out of the house. Like, this is getting scary. So I barely made it out. And we were at this dinner party, and this gentleman that worked for him, I don't know why I started talking to him, but I did. And I like totally started crying. And I just said, like, I'm really sick. I don't even know if I'm going to make it, which is like a pretty heavy thing to say to a person you don't even know. And he grabbed my ex-boyfriend and he said, you should pay for her to learn how to meditate. Like I wasn't sleeping either at the time because I was just a wreck. And he said, at least she's going to get some sleep and that'll help her, you know, like settle down a little bit. He wasn't thinking I was going to have some like major shift in consciousness. And
His
so,
idea was if you learn to meditate, it'll help you sleep. And so then that
yeah,
will hopefully like calm things down. Cause
calm,
yeah, if you're not sleeping, then you're like way more heightened.
totally. It was a combo platter of depression, anxiety, and a really, really bad sleeping disorder. So it was really my ex that he paid for the whole thing. He set it up. I didn't even have a car. Like I was going to kill myself. There was no like, I didn't need a car. I didn't need a job. I didn't need anything. Like I already planned to give my dog away and everything. And, which is shocking because I would never give my dog away. I like loved her. So, he set the whole thing up. He let me use his car. And with transcendental meditation, you're taught how to meditate. It's like a 4-day process and it's about an hour and a half per day. I had one meeting with the lady that was going to be my teacher. And I did notice, she was teaching in her home. And I did notice that day that it was like very calm in her house. Like the energy was different than the outside world, but it wasn't enough for me to even ask questions or anything. I just was like, whatever, I'll learn this, but it's not going to help me. And so I went the first day and learned how to meditate, and like everything changed. Like everything changed in 20 minutes. Like I was a totally different person.
So when you're saying, so with the transcendental meditation, because I've definitely heard many like people, like, oh, I do that, whatever. But I guess I had always thought like, I didn't realize you like it's sort of you do or it's meant to learn it by like you go somewhere like, but I guess I assumed that was like you go to some retreat house. I'm like, so is it sort of like people are licensed to teach it? And so she just happened to be, and it was in her home. So
Yeah.
and it was it sort of, she ran these things on the weekends. Were other people there, or was just like, okay, you want to learn, you're booked to come Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah. So you go to like an introduction lecture, and that could be with other people. And they just kind of tell you like, hey, this is how it's going to go. This is the plan. There's like certain things you need to bring, and just, they just want to prepare you for like this class that you're going to take. And then the first day of training, it's just you and the teacher. So it's not other people. It's like a pretty personal thing. Again, like I had zero knowledge about this. Like I had no idea how any of it worked. I went in there cold. And I believe the second day also, it was just her and I. And then the third and fourth day, I think there was other people there, because it's other people that had learned. And then they're just basically checking your meditation to make sure like you got it, you don't have any questions, you feel comfortable, because, well, the story goes on that within 2 weeks of learning how to meditate, like I'm working with her, my TM teacher, Oprah Winfrey, and like the David Lynch Foundation. Like my whole life shifted, and I was basically just getting paid to talk to people before they learn to meditate and after, and do speaking gigs and like lead meditations. But the bottom line is like when you go deep like that and you start meditating, like your world starts shifting, like things are different. You're not used to getting like that level of rest. Your brain starts operating differently, and you have questions because you feel different. So that's, I think, why they have 4 days, because you're like, oh my, like for me in one day, my sleeping disorder that I had for 14 years was gone.
Huh.
And I was sleeping 15 hours a day. And I'm like, how did that happen? You know, like I had so many questions. I mean, my questions went on for years. So, because it was just unbelievable.
Okay, so you go. I'm like, you kind of gave us a speed up, but like, so you are like, like we. We're like
well, because
so you
then
go,
I was like,
okay,
oh,
so your boyfriend signs you or ex-boyfriend signs you up. You go, you show up to this thing, like, okay, yeah, whatever.
it
First
was
day
whatever.
one, when she's teaching you how, is you already have that.
Yeah, day one, like she teaches me how to meditate. It's a mantra based meditation. So they give you like this sound that you use that helps you meditate. And it was like the ground just opened up inside of me. And like I went to this place that I didn't know existed. It was so deep. It was so rich. It was so quiet. And when I opened my eyes and came out of that, like the entire world was different. Like it was like colors that I'd never seen before. Sound was different. It's like I was reborn in 20 minutes. Like, and that is not that is not the norm, because now I've been around thousands of people that have learned. People
Gotcha.
do have experiences like this, some people, but it's not the norm. It's
Right.
more of like a gradual thing, you know, over years. For me, I don't know, it just cracked me open.
Yeah. Well, I mean, perhaps I mean, I'm sure it's a combination of things. Like one, your spiritual like background with your mom, even though you hadn't meditated, but also perhaps because of where you were in that place of
Something.
despair. Like, yeah, like everything. Who knows?
It was very
Um,
black and white. And I think it's because part of it is I was so sick. I was so down. I had given up. Like it's almost as though I died before I died. You know, like I just was like, there's nothing left of me. I was annihilated. So I think that teed me up to have quite an experience. That is not the norm. Most people are like, I want to feel better or
Right.
whatever. It just, for me, it was so much more than that.
So at the end of the 4 days, then are you like, oh my gosh, I'm so on board with it. Like, yeah, you said you ended up working with this woman. How did that happen?
Well, after the 4 days, I mean, she obviously could see like this girl had
This isn't an ordinary case.
this is not an ordinary case. This experience is unbelievable. And she knew that I wasn't working. She knew I told her the truth from the beginning, like, I'm really sick right now, and she was like, don't worry about anything. She was really calm and just like, it's gonna be fine. And I told her after the 4 days, I go, I don't know what's going on. I mean, I was very confused too, because it was like, how the hell did this just happen? I was like, I'm gonna open a bar. Like, I'm ready now. I'm gonna like get better. I'm gonna go back with the partner and open a bar. And she looked at me and she goes, you're not opening a bar. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, that's all I know how to do. And she goes, you're not gonna open a bar. Like, you're a different person now. And I didn't even know what she was talking about. And a couple days after that, she said, hey, I want you to know I work with the David Lynch Foundation, which David Lynch, the director, has this huge foundation that's about transcendental meditation. Because like so many famous people do this, and the foundation helps veterans learn, and people that really need it. They help them. They get it organized, and they have lots of events. And anyway, so she was on board with them. And she said Oprah Winfrey has hired us to teach all of her employees, whoever wants to learn, in New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles. And Chicago was like where her main offices were. And she said, we'd like to hire you. Like, I think you would do really well, and you could really connect with these people. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. Like, I'm gonna open a bar. Like, why would I? I don't even
Wow.
know, what would I even do there. And through a series of unbelievable events that next week, I decided I'm not opening a bar. I'm going to take the job. And then my life really changed because it was like a whole new world to me.
Wow. So that's interesting that, yeah, you were just sort of like, wow, thank you. Great. Now I'm back to the land of the living, and I'm going to go open a bar.
Right. And it was like my old self was like, what are you talking about? Like, you're going to do what you know how to do. Like, you're just going to go back into that business. But she knew better. Like, she was way more wise than I was.
So you ended up eventually saying yes and going to do that work. And how long did that end up being? Like,
2 years.
not just was the 2 years with Oprah or with the like David Lynch Foundation, I guess?
Well, it was both. 2 years at Harpo Studios and
Oh,
with the
wow.
David Lynch Foundation. Yeah. And I started doing a ton of speaking. I mean, I was doing sometimes like 3 speaking events a week, and I'm talking to people about spirituality and consciousness. It was like, it came full circle, but I didn't do anything. It just, that childhood dream kind of just became my reality with zero effort on my part.
Was the speaking connected to the foundation, or did those things come on your own? Like, was it?
It was both. I started going into like bigger corporations and giving talks about meditation and consciousness. So I'd go to like an advertising company, or, in a, not accounting, but like a trading company. It was like all these different people were approaching us because TM was gaining popularity again. It was really popular like in the 60s and 70s because of the Beatles and bigger name people. And then there was like another surge because people like Oprah were having their companies learn, David Letterman, Jimmy Fallon, all these people were having everyone within their companies learn. And so word was getting out. And so a corporation would contact us, and then like I would go in there and give a talk. And this is again, like with zero training. It was kind of like I was born to do it, but like I never thought like that would actually be my reality.
Wow. So then what happened after those 2 years?
So Oprah was getting ready to like wrap it up in
Was that when
Chicago.
the show was still happening, or she just had her
The show
base?
had just ended, I think, and she was like had her uh I don't
I
know,
know.
her magazine and like I think she was starting a network.
Yeah, like the own it. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I feel like
Um
things happen, but yeah, I feel like she still had a base. Maybe she still does have a base in Chicago, but yeah,
no, she sold that.
she
And I
did.
knew that was kind of coming to an end, and I just had decided I loved my work. Honestly, it was like one of my favorite things I ever did in my life. It was hard, didn't make a lot of money or anything. It was like purely just out of joy and wanting to help people. And I was like, you know what? I'm getting some speaking gigs on my own and I'm traveling and I really want to write a book. I felt like I had to write my first book. Like there was no question about it. And I had never, ever, ever thought about writing a book. Never, like in my life. But all of a sudden, I'm like, I had to do it. Like I was compelled. And so I decided I didn't want to live in Chicago anymore. And I sold everything I owned and I moved to like the middle of nowhere, Iowa on 14 acres. And I
How
knew
did
like
you end up there? And you were born and raised in Chicago, right?
born and raised in Chicago. I had
Did
been
you go to
living in the
college
city.
there?
I did. I went to DePaul. I lived in the city. I moved
Wow.
downtown 2 weeks after high school ended. Um, so I'd been in the city for 20 years. I moved down there when I was 17 and I was like, I'm totally done. Like I want to go somewhere quiet. And I thought it would be for like 6 months just to like write a book. I didn't even know what that process was going to look like, but I was like, I'm out of here. And it happened very quickly. So the town I moved to in Iowa, half the town meditates. So like I had been there a couple times and like I knew
Okay.
what it was, but I didn't know anyone. I think I knew
But that
one.
was the pool. Like you had been there
I
through the
had been there.
meditation work, whatever. So you're like, okay, there's at least
Yeah, I just was like, oh, there's this place and it's the only place I know to move like out in the country cuz
right.
I don't know, I grew up in a city, so I didn't know where to
Yeah, you're like,
move
where do
or
I even want to start? Okay, I want to get out of the
yeah,
city and move. Like,
right. I didn't know where to go.
am I gonna,
Honestly,
yeah. There's
I
too
was like
many places. Do I go to Colorado? I'm like, where? Yeah, where?
right. I was like, should I move to like Kentucky to like horse country? Like, where am I going?
Right.
I didn't know. And then I randomly 4th of July weekend, I literally was in my car and I was like, should I go this way down the highway or should I go this way? Should I go to Lexington, Kentucky, or should I go to Fairfield, Iowa? And I made one phone call. The only like there was a bed and breakfast in town. That was the only place I knew like where I could stay. And I was like, if she tells me I can come tonight and bring my dog, then I'm going to Iowa. And she said, we normally don't take dogs, but actually I sold the bed and breakfast and this will be the last weekend we're open. So go ahead, bring the dog.
Oh my
And I literally
God.
like turned the car and I just started going to Iowa. And then that weekend, I found the house that I ended up renting and I had already seen the house and the street sign in a dream. And so when I pulled up there, I knew it was the house because I had already seen it. And I signed the lease on the spot, came back to Chicago, quit my job, gave him 2 weeks notice, quit my job. In 2 weeks, sold pretty much every single thing I owned, like my dresses, my heels, like purses, all my furniture, rented my apartment or condo and left.
Wow.
I was like, bye, see ya. And then I wrote my first book. So I took, I think it was like 6 or 8 months off just to write. And then I fell in love with like a more simple way of living and being in the country. And I made like a million friends. And those people I consider like my family.
Are you still in that town?
Yeah.
Amazing.
I
And that,
travel a lot, but that's my base.
right. Um, and when you had this pool to write the book, did you know what it was going to be? And like, did it end up, your first book end up being what you thought it was going to be? Or was it just like, I know I'm being called to write a book. And so I'm just going to take this time to do it. Like, did you be like, I'm writing this book? And then that happened? Or was it just like, I'm writing a book? What is coming out of me?
I had a dream and my mom like came to me in my dream, like very, very clearly. I don't even want to say it's a dream. It was real. And she showed me she was like in heaven or whatever you want to call it. She's like in another dimension. And she's sitting at a desk and she's typing on her like old school typewriter that she had when I was younger. And like it was this like mint green typewriter that like every night I would fall asleep to her like typing. I could hear her in the kitchen. And it was that same typewriter. And she looked at me and I said to her, like, what are you doing? Like, why are you like, you're dead? Like, what are you writing? And she was like, I'm continuing to do my work. And then I was like, what do you mean? And she said, like, life goes on. Like when you die, she explained to me, and she was like, I am continuing. This is my life's work and I'm going to continue. She goes, but now I'm going to work through you. You're going to write a book and I'm going to work through you. And I was like, what? I was like, I don't know how to write a book. And she was like, that's okay, because I'm going to write it through you. And that dream happened. Well, then I became obsessed with writing the book. And it was like 6 months later that all this happened. So I knew that I wanted to write about my experience, what happened and how it changed me as a person, and like what life was like when after that experience for myself. And I thought, I can't be the only one having experiences like this, but I don't know other people. So I'm just going to write the book myself. But in this town, I met tons of people that were having all sorts of really cool experiences. And I knew I wasn't alone in this. So that helped me make the book became even more rich because I moved to this town and was able to like talk out these experiences and like really work through them. So then I could put them on paper.
I love that. And so from moving to a place where you didn't know anyone, and then you end up having all these like rich relationships and having these deep conversations, it sounds like, how did you go about that? Because I know so many people and adults, and like we'll have people, write in or this, and clients and stuff that do really struggle with like having meaningful relationships as adults, and sort of like they end up in relationships they don't enjoy anymore, but those are the friends they knew, or this, but how do I make new friends in this? How did that come to be?
I think I really one of the most major changes in my life is I really tapped into like what was right for me, and I didn't like deviate from that. So I really was true to myself. And when I felt a pull to do something or go somewhere, I really believe to this day, like I'm being led by, a higher power or being shown the way. And so there's not like that much thinking involved. It's more like I just follow the way. And it was no different in this case. I was like, I'm obviously being shown, like I have the desire. The house showed up. Like I'm in this town. Like I just was following like the breadcrumbs along the path, and everything worked out like really well. So, I mean, I really began just living my life that way. And I think we all have that inner voice, those inner prompts. And like, you got to teach yourself to trust that. Cause I think it does lead to richer relationships, really cool experiences, and a more interesting existence.
Yeah. And so how you said that was so beautifully. And so as I'm also taking that in daily real life, does that mean even, oh, I'm feeling pulled to go to this coffee shop? Okay, I'm going to go
Yeah.
in. Oh, I like that person's boots. I'm going to compliment them. Oh, this
All of
person
it.
who is taking my money is friendly. Let me have a conversation. Like it's because I make up, it's a lot of these small, big also, but like these small nudges that are happening that people will just be like, oh, no, I don't have time. Or, oh, what if they think I'm weird? Or like, you know what I mean? Oh, I can't do that alone. That people are likely having these little moments within, but then they talk themselves out of it because that's not what we're taught we should do. Or what if they don't respond? Or I'll just wait and come back with someone
Yeah.
else.
Right. You're
Or
missing the beautiful, magical moments in life. Like being all up in your head is not where it's at. Like that's not where like all these cool things that are going to happen to you live. So, you know, for me, it was meditation that helped me like move out of my mind. And I was never like a neurotic, like super overthinker, not like that, but definitely like incorporating more silence into my life, like allowed me to just be more quiet and kind of like lead with my gut and my heart more than like being like over analyzing every single thing. So that was super helpful. And getting rid of like all these distractions in your life. Like, you know, people are not present because it's hard when you have like 50 other things going on. But again, it's that presence and quiet and lack of distractions that really opens you up to this new life, and being able to say to that person like, oh my God, I love your sweater, and like just starting a conversation, because you're going to feel drawn to certain people, but you have to be like open and vulnerable too. I mean, I don't know as an adult how else you would do it. You have to like
Totally.
you got to like make plans with people, and but you're going to want to if it's the right people.
Yeah.
And it works the opposite way too. Like if you have friends that you are not feeling this anymore, and like every time you're around them you don't feel good, like it's time to drop kick that relationship. Like what are you going to do? Keep torturing yourself and expect a different outcome? Like you're
Yeah.
not going to get a different outcome. It's going to suck every time.
Yeah. And that's, and like, I've now seen, because I would, a long time ago when I had this like moment with realizing these relationships that maybe, oh, I don't feel as great around this person. Like, why do I feel stressed or overwhelmed or like judged after I'm with them? Or like, you know, like, what is this? And then so why? And, but it would be like, but I do love that person. Like, it felt like, how dare I? So it was just sort of like, I don't even have to like drop kick them out of my life or be like, this person is labeled as X. It's like, okay, they're going to move over here and they're going to move, like, you know, so it's like, who do I enjoy spending my time with? Like, okay, great. I can still have love for them and they're just out here somewhere.
I should have said drop kick, but
I know, but some people do, I do, but I was like, for me, I had to like, okay, great. I can still have love for that person and appreciate the time and the history that we had and all of that. And great. And if I see them at an event or I see them out in public, hi, this. And,
totally.
but they're not the people I'm calling. They're not the people I'm sharing my information with. They're not the people that I'm putting my like time and attention with. So really like looking at it that way and sort of like, yeah, you can move people around your own like game board.
Absolutely. That is a great way of looking at it. Yeah. You just don't, maybe they're just not your inner circle anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I think the people you keep really close to you, like, those have to be really special relationships that there's mutual respect and you feel really good around them and you can really talk to them about whatever's going on. That's important.
And also realizing sometimes the people that you do feel that connection with and love, their lives are just, they've got too much going on. So maybe it's like you still love them, but they have a lot. So it's like, great, then they're this. And like, so it's like, great, then how can you call in these other people that maybe have the same time or whatever interests that you do that aren't all sucked up in whatever is that. But yeah, you're so right. Like that's what I will always be giving the advice of like, just talk to people. Like you got to put yourself out there. Compliment someone, ask them where they got this, ask them blah, blah, blah. And like whatever, just make conversation with strangers.
Yeah. I know that's really hard for some people. It can like feel really intense. So, I mean, for me, I did not set out to move to a new town to make 100 friends. I just moved there to write a book. I mean, that was just a consequence of my actions. In fact, like I didn't want more friends. I wanted more quiet time. But I mean, I was pleasantly surprised, but that's what I love about life. Like you don't even know what's going to happen. And I don't want to know. Like, I just want to live it. And it's so, I mean, I think it makes things really interesting.
I want to just, yeah, I love that you said that. I don't even want to know. I just want to live it. Is that what you said? Like, it's so good.
I don't
we
want to
spend
know.
so much time like, and like, yeah, okay, yes, you do. You have an idea like this, that, what's gonna happen. But there's, yeah, it's like also, I'm always like, life is precious. You have no freaking clue what's gonna happen next or where the next thing is gonna come from or the next opportunity or that. It's just like, yeah, like I on a daily basis and like, I'm alive.
I'm alive. And I feel grateful that I'm alive and not sick. Like I have those thoughts all the time too. I just am like happy that I'm okay. And I think, you know, like for me, I feel pretty open. I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen, but let's do it. I don't know whatever it is. Cool.
Love it. Okay. So you wrote the book.
I did. I wrote the book.
The first one.
The first one.
And then too, was that something you ended up self-publishing? Was that something you planned to do, or was like, how did you fall into that?
I started going to this coffee shop and sitting in the same seat every day with my headphones on and just like writing. And then I can't remember exactly how, but my first editor found me. Like, I don't know if it was through a mutual friend. And he said, I heard you're writing a book. Like, I'd really like to help you. And so then I had like a partner in this, and having an editor, you know, is like amazing when you're writing. So he helped me really organize things. And then in this little town, there's tons of like writers and artists and all these creative people. And so I found this extraordinary gentleman that he did cover art. And one of my favorite writers like in the world is Father Richard Rohr, and he did like his book covers. And I was like, oh my God, what are the chances
Wow.
that my favorite writer, like this man, is in the same town as me? And like I became really good friends with him. So he was like, let me do a book cover for you. And then like it just piece after piece started coming together. And then I was like, I am self-publishing, I guess. I didn't know
Wow.
anything about that world, but I wanted to learn like what does it really mean to publish a book? Like I wanted to learn everything about the whole process. And I was drawn to that. I didn't even think about getting a publisher or anything. I just wanted to learn myself. And so I did it.
That's so cool how it came together. Um, so moving forward, because now you have just released a different book.
Yeah. Well, now I have the bug.
So
So,
what, yeah, like, so what's happened in that time? And especially, yeah, like you said, you thought you were just moving there for like 6 months to write a book.
and that just goes
That's
to
not what
show
happened.
you
So
don't know
what
anything.
happened?
Yeah. Well, my life like took a different turn then again. I wrote the book and then I thought, oh, you're just going to go around the country and do speaking events. You'll sell your book and blah, blah, blah. And that is not what happened. I came home to Chicago to like tell my dad I published this book. And I actually had a speaking event in Chicago. I was all excited. And my dad was like, I need to talk to you. Like, your brother has leukemia and it's really serious. And I was like, okay, I'm moving home. Like, I'm going to live with you as, you know, not, I wasn't there full time, but months at a time. And we just tried to take care of my brother. So, like, everything
Jesus.
just stopped. Yeah, it was super intense. And once again, I was like, I am not in control. Like, I am not controlling this narrative. So, my brother was sick for like 3.5 years. We had to do a transplant. I was his donor, the whole 9 yards. And I had to get a job. Like I was running out of money. So I started working with a gentleman out of Boulder. He was a real estate developer. Um, he needed someone to do like his marketing and like build a website for him. And I just like figured out how to do it because I was like in the hospital all day. Like my brother would end up in the hospital for months at a time. So I like took this side job and it turned into another whole huge job, like in hospitality and real estate and all that. So I did that.
So was
And
that, so did that end up like you said yes to doing this person's online marketing and website?
yeah,
And then did you just continue to do that for more businesses? Is that what you mean with the hospitality or?
well, I ended up getting my real estate license in Colorado and selling all of his projects. And then we ended up forming a business together, a
did you
luxury,
even go to Colorado?
not for a while. No, because
But
I
you
really,
got your real estate license in Colorado
I,
because you were working with him.
yeah, that was the deal. And now we're business partners and we have a luxury vacation rental company that we do. So I'm back to living two lives, you know, but I still was never going to give up this. Now that I had that piece of me, I was never going to give it up. So I wanted to write this second book. It was just a continuation of the first book.
Wow. Okay. So you went on that journey, wrote the book, thought you were going to be on this whole new, well, not whole new, but yeah. Okay, great. I wrote this book and go speaking, come home, and then end up taking care of or staying with and supporting your
Mm-hmm.
brother through that process. Did your brother get better?
No, he passed away. We did do the transplant and it worked, but then he got really sick and it's it's complicated when you're that ill. So he ended up passing away. Um, and it was after that I decided I wanted to write my second book. So it's on the heels of these major changes in my life that I
Yeah.
then have like inspiration to do stuff. I think it builds more empathy inside of me. So then I want to like reach out and help other people. I think that's what's really going on here.
Yeah. Well, started down this path when the sudden loss of my dad, when I think I was like 27. Yeah. And he was like
Mhm.
57. And it was just an accident and shocked me.
That'll do
And
it.
yeah, and it like shattered me. And I was close to my dad, but not like you and your mom and that. But yeah, it's so interesting how loss can really like, and I just wanted to shake, like I was like, I just want to shake people up to like, you're alive. You don't know what can happen tomorrow. Like what are you making? Like life is hard and
Right.
life is not fair. There is a lot of terrible things. And also, you don't know when it's going to be over. And I also feel like as humans, we just make it so much harder for ourselves. Like there are real things in life that are making it harder. But again, like all the mental stuff we're constantly doing that is keeping us from being who we are, from experiencing joy, from trying new things, from just, enjoying your life, whatever your life looks like, and making those changes to then better your life. If you're like that, like,
Yeah. I mean,
so
that's
yeah, I just like
in
wanted to shake people up, and I was like, I have no idea how, but I'm gonna
but you're
do that.
doing it.
Yeah,
But you're doing it. And that's what like my entire second book is about, that deep shift that you had after you lost your father. Like your perspective on life changed and you were like, I'm going to do something different now. I mean, that's what happens. And the reason you have this perspective is because you directly experienced this situation that changed your life. So you know more than maybe someone that did not have an experience like that. So of course you're going to have a different view of the world, and me too. And that's
yeah,
your opportunity to like kind of share that message with people, because it's like you've been there, you understand like life is precious, and like why waste your time being all up in your head when like that's not where it's at, because
yeah,
it could end tomorrow, and so do I.
yep, yep. So wait, so what? Tell us the title of the new book.
It's called In Deep Shift.
In Deep Shift, and what's the subtitle too? Because it's beautiful, but I
I have
forget it.
thanks, I have my book with me.
Yeah.
Riding the waves of change to find peace, fulfillment, and freedom.
Yes. Yeah, I really resonated with that because that's beside, like I find like, yeah, people are chasing like the fulfillment. Oh, once I have this, do that, whatever. Once all these are like, then I'll be fulfilled, then I'll be enough, then I'll be successful, then I'll be worthy. And it's like, well, nope, it's just going to be, you're going to keep on moving that along into
Yeah,
something else.
you're just going to like live your life, and things are going to happen, like you losing your father or me losing my mom and my brother, that are going to kind of turn your compass. Like you're going to go in a different direction because of that. And it won't be because of anything you did, or it just happens to you. And then you have a new direction, and then that's your opportunity to help others find peace within yourself, whatever you need to do to fulfill that new person that you are.
And I love that. So not you still, you are running this like, what is it called? Like a
It's a vacation rental company. So
vacation rental.
yeah, we have
Yeah.
homes that, it's still hospitality, right? I still went back to that, but it's on my terms now. Like, so I can do that and fulfill, like scratch that itch for hospitality. And I also can write books and do speaking, and that fulfill that side of me too.
Yeah. And also like, I love that it's not like we don't ever have to choose
Mm-mm.
either or. And it's like, oh, and you're not like giving up on your passion or your work or your impact in the world because you're also, creating income and enjoyment and impact in people's lives that way and creating like the vacation, like
Yeah, it's
experience.
also a spiritual experience doing that, like creating amazing experiences for other people. And like the way I run the company and how I interact with employees and stuff, like it all spills over into that. It's not like I'm a different person in one side of my life and then a different person in the other. It's not like that. And no, I did not feel like I had to give anything up or like make excuses.
Yeah. No, we're allowed to be in all the things. And like you said, just so true, like who you're being with the employees or the customers and who everybody, like that is what making an impact. You don't have to write a book or become a speaker or create some like life-changing work to have an impact on people.
No, just
Being
be, just be and being authentic and true to yourself. I think you'll impact everyone you touch.
yes, and being kind and being present. Like I think that really being present with people creates an impact. And I am aware at how often I am with people and they are not present,
It's the norm.
and it's interesting because it's not like, and I'm not like judging. It's like, oh, you terrible, unpresent people, but I'll just be like, in conversation or okay, we're at a kid's party and there's all the like I have two young kids, so there's lots of birthday parties and the parents are still around at these ages. And so like making conversation and like I'm very present. Like when I like am standing and talking to somebody like, oh wait, oh there, oh wow. Well, except for yes, we have to keep our eyes on our children, that thing. But just
Right.
anyway, like
Right.
just noticing, I get it. We're humans and we have this and this stress and this, whatever. There's so much happening in our daily lives. And like, oh wow, people really don't have the ability to just be still have all that reality of their lives. And let's lock into this moment.
Yeah. I mean, I think you need some sort of like spiritual practice or something that's going to ground you and help you become more present. I don't think in this world that we're living in with so much going on that that's just going to come naturally to most people. I think you need to like work at it a little bit until it's
Yeah.
natural,
Yeah.
until it's just who you are, and then fine. But how are you going to get there? Because you're not going to get there from like grinding it out at work all day and then like coming home to your children. Like that's not going to get you there. So I always say, like, I don't care what you do, but like pick something that'll help you become more present and find more peace within yourself. And that could be, I don't know, you like qigong or you like yoga or like you like walking in nature. It doesn't really matter. For me, I found meditation or it found me, and that's what worked for me. So it's like do something outside your normal life to maybe help cultivate that thing in you, and then it'll serve you in every area of your life.
Totally. And in your books, do you bring like, are you guiding people to meditation at all? Is it more like sharing your like story and journey and also like giving tools? Like what
Yeah,
is,
I mean, I just basically tell people this is what happened to me, but maybe that's not appropriate for you. Maybe it's something else that's calling you. Like, I don't know, you want to go walk across Spain. I don't know whatever it is. I think it's really personal. And I'm not here to be saying like this is the only way, like you have to do this or that, because I just don't believe that. I think it's going to
same.
come to you and then but again, listen to those things that come to you and do that. Like
Yeah.
you got to be a little proactive here.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm always like one of my main mantras is any minutes is more than no minutes. Cause I do think that people put things off because it's like, oh, I can't do transcendental meditation because that's going to take 20 minutes. But like, also if you try, but like, okay, well, wait, well, what about you try this? Why don't you try like whatever, do
But
something,
like
try a 2-minute meditation of some sort first. And then like,
something and I've heard that argument now for years, like, oh my God, I'm too busy to meditate or I can't. First of all, every person that I've been around that has learned this type of meditation, like they can meditate. And I'm always like, well, like Oprah is pretty busy, I think, but she stopped her company twice a day for 20 minutes for all of us to meditate together. And what ends up happening is like actually your time expands because you're more efficient, you're more clear-minded, you're getting stuff done. So you're actually like giving yourself more time. You're not like taking time away from yourself.
yeah,
It's the
that's,
opposite. I write
yeah.
about in this book, I call it opposite land. It's like, it's so many of these things are the opposite of what you think it is really happening. It's the opposite.
No, it's so true. I mean, and that's, you're speaking for the 20-minute meditation, but like I find that for so many things like throughout my day, if it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I don't have time to go exercise or whatever. And it's like, but then when I do that, everything changes in my
Right.
mind. It's like, I don't exercise for my body anymore. It's like, oh, suddenly I feel fearless and strong. And I had this idea and I'm more present. And like,
Right. It's like the good's going to outweigh the bad for
and
sure.
then I come back to the things with a whole different energy and focus. So yeah, it's like I have added time because I'm not like, go.
Right. Exactly. I mean, you get it. That's what it is.
Um, okay, I'm gonna get to the questions that I ask everybody. The first
Okay.
one is, what are your go-tos to raise your joy levels?
I think spending time around people that you really love, that you really connect with, like I find so much joy. I'm a pretty social person. So going out and having a glass of wine with a girlfriend that's so interesting and that I love hanging out with and feel good around, like to me, that brings me a lot of joy. And animals. I love animals.
Love that. And yeah, and is there anything like, let's say like you get off this call, or maybe not this call, because you're hopefully gonna feel great after this,
I
but like you
feel
get
great
off,
now. Well,
you
good.
get you get some bad news or whatever, and you're feeling like down. Like, what is something like you would do like in the moment to boost?
I mean, I like taking naps. Like if I feel really overwhelmed and like life is getting too heavy for me, I have to like go in my room, close the door. Like I need to just relax. I have to. My nervous system's pretty sensitive. So I am a big fan of naps and just being quiet. And I also like taking walks.
Yeah.
Like nothing, just keeping it pretty simple.
Yeah. Yeah. I like wax. I also like that you said nap from somebody that had the a sleeping issue
I am
for
a
so long.
champion sleeper
I
now.
was
I
like, oh
sleep every
yeah.
night. Yeah, I sleep every night. I take naps. Like I love my sleep. It's precious to me.
Love it. Okay. Ask everybody to apply this phrase to their own life. What is easiest for you is not always what is best for you. It's like, what is easiest for me is blank. What is best for me is blank.
It feels really easy for me to like blow off going to the gym or working out. Like I'd rather just like lay in bed and read or something, but it's best for me to move my body.
I get that. Okay, the last question is, the name of the podcast is Claim It, which has to do with what I mentioned earlier, how I feel like we're often, well, I guess I didn't totally. We're often chasing like, okay, once I do this, I will be fulfilled, be successful, be enough. And what I feel like is that we have been trained to look at things based on what we think they look like. So
Mm-hmm.
like once I'll be successful once this happens, once
It's
it
the
looks like
trap.
this. But really it's, how does that feel? Like, how does it feel to be enough? How does it feel to be fulfilled? How does it feel to be successful? And I feel when we tune into that, how does it feel? We can actually like get a glimmer of claiming that feeling in the
Mm-hmm.
now. So what are you claiming for yourself right now?
Um, I just feel very satisfied and grateful and just like at peace. I mean, of course there's things I want, but like when I'm really honest with myself and I'm just quiet, I'm like, you know what? I'm pretty satisfied. I'm just happy.
Love that. Thank you so, so much for sharing your journey with us, and so excited for you and this new book being out in the world.
Thanks. Thanks for having me on your show.
You're so welcome.